got through last night sharing kind of the, my focus now is really in agriculture, but in places like Kenya, where 82% of the population have high levels of aflatoxin in their bloodstream.
So today was amazing, and I'm telling you, I don't know what to expect next year because everybody's so excited. They're loving what they're getting. The products are so great.
We want to be able to tell our community, wherever they're in the U.S., that there's a forum, there's a platform where they can come and engage and network and showcase and meet and mingle with other businesses as well as government and
All right, welcome. I'm so thankful to be here with this live audience as well as our virtual audience who's tuning in now. You are attending the EACC conference. This is the Education and Youth Empowerment panel, and we have quite a selection here among us who are going to share their thoughts and ideas and even their perspective on what's been happening in education and surrounding areas, even in HR. So I'm going to do a quick introduction of myself and how I've been affiliated with the East Africa Chamber of Commerce. My name is Dr. Tana J. Hicks, and I've been with the Chamber for probably about 4 years. And it started off as just a quick journey into trying to understand the East African market in terms of what I could contribute. And along the way, I attended some panels and sessions and eventually at one point joined the board. And I also found employment here. I attended a couple of sessions, actually attended a session with the CEO of World Food Bank and happened to connect with him while I was at this conference and had a conversation with him and connected afterward and said, hey, I'm a writer and I enjoy, helping the community. And that led to me writing for the World Food Bank for quite a bit of time. So I do appreciate the East Africa Chamber of Commerce and what it's done for me, but I'm also excited to give back in the ways that I've been able to. And now I'm excited to introduce my wonderful panelists who are going to talk about education and youth empowerment. The title of this panel is Think Broadly, Workforce and Educational Opportunities. And these ladies here are going to be able to inform us about the breadth of that area. So if you will, introduce yourself. Actually, let me tell everyone who you are, your names, and then you can give a quick introduction of yourself. So here we have Stephanie Dwell and Dr. Geronimo Rotish and Kalandra Rollins. So Stephanie, if you'll start off and just introduce yourself very quickly, what you do, where you've come from, and we'll get into the questions afterward.
Sure. My name is Stephanie Dwell, and I'm with the Tarrant County College Foundation. Our mission is to raise funds for scholarships and programs at Tarrant County College, and then we also administer scholarships, so we're also the ones passing out the money. If you don't know, Tarrant County is just everything that's west of here. So Fort Worth and Arlington are the biggest cities in Tarrant County, but I know a lot of Dallas County folks look a little blank at me when I say I'm from Tarrant County, but we're just west of here. So I have quite a bit of experience in the community college realm. When I was growing up, community colleges, I just thought of them as someplace you would go to get your first 2 years of your bachelor's degree done less expensively. And it is that, and it's still that. But really, community colleges are focused now on getting people workforce ready straight out of community college. So they prepare for just a couple of hundred different programs that you can be prepared for to go into a career in as little as 6 months or in up to 2 years. And so there's all kinds of health fields that you can learn to go straight into from community college. Let's see, computer science items, so network security and cyber security and all kinds of jobs in that area. They have more of the trades as well, so like HVAC technicians. Thank goodness there are people who know how to work on air conditioners, so I'm glad of that, and they can learn how to do that at community college, and all kinds of different trades as well. So if you know someone who is uncertain of what they want to do with their career and they're looking for how they fit in best, then I recommend a community college as a way to do that. And there is, it's very reasonable relatively in terms of the cost to attend a community college, and there are a lot of supports available to do that, and I'd be happy to talk about that.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Stephanie. Dr. Rotish?
Good afternoon. This is Dr. Giovanna Rotich. They call me professor. I'm a full professor, department chair at North Carolina Central University in Durham, North Carolina. Previously, I was at North Carolina Agricultural and Technical State University, where this previous speaker just graduated from. So he was one of my students. I was there for 18 years. So we have raised some great people who are speaking and sponsored our lunch today. So I'm also the president of the Kenya Scholars and Studies Association. This is an organization that brings together Kenya scholars from across the globe, and we just finished our 13th annual conference that was well attended right here in Dallas. So this is my second time coming back to Dallas in September. I'm also the president, the founder, the CEO of Kenya Students in Diaspora. This is an organization that brings together international students from Kenya internationally, and really we mentor them, we work with them, we support them. You know, I came to this country as an international student 25 years ago, and it is not easy. I was mentored, I was supported, and it is my time to pay back and pay forward. So with that organization, we support our young students, we mentor them, we point them to resources, we network them, we help them through their journey, because it can be very rough here. I'm also a member of the One Voice, One Diaspora. This is an organization that brings together Kenyans together. I'm also a member of the Kenya National Council of Elders. I am also a member of the National Executive Board of Kenya Christian Fellowship. And what I love with that organization is I get to work with the young people. We call it the Promise Generation. This is an age group between 18 and 35 years old. Again, that is the age group that we mentor, that we work with. And then lastly, I have my own nonprofit organization, LLC, that is Warrior, that is Women and Youth and Global Diversity Consulting. I'm a mother of two wonderful, wonderful girls, 27 and 24. So I love young people. I love education. I breathe that, and it's my time to pay forward. Thank you so much, and it's a pleasure for me to be here. And I'm so glad my member of parliament is here, all the way from Elgeyo Marakwet, Kenya North. Great.
Thank you so much, Dr. Rotish, and we really appreciate your enthusiasm. I can tell you are serious about education. All right, Ms. Calandra Rollins.
Yes, hi, my name is Calandra Rollins. I'm the Vice President for Professional Home Health and Hospice. I have spent a majority of my career in healthcare management. I'm a licensed nurse, and I also hold a bachelor's degree in social work as well. I'm very passionate about, I'm very passionate about Christ first and foremost, but I love helping people. I love helping people. That's what prompted me to actually start my own social service and case management agency back in 2010. It is still up and functioning at this time as well. A little bit more about what I do at Professional Home Health and Hospice as the Vice President. I help oversee the organization in the full operation of the organization. So that's from human resource issues to any legal issues, any state surveyors, and auditors that come into our office. We work with them. As you hear me keep saying issues, we work with a lot of problems, and I love to do problem solving. That is one of the things that I really enjoy doing. Also, on a personal level, I do have a son that I love to spend time with. He's 15 years old. He plays football. He loves the Cowboys. So I'm learning a whole lot about football at this moment, probably more than what I would like to know. Also, too, during my free time as well, too, I volunteer and like to help other new entrepreneurs with their business startup.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Calandra. So I'm going to start with questions. This first question goes to Ms. Duong and Dr. Rotish. Can you describe how academics, students, professors, and administration have revised their approach to educational opportunities within and outside of the diaspora since the pandemic? Who'd ever like to go first?
I'll I'll go ahead. I'll go ahead. Well, I can say that for one thing, they discovered technology changes. So when things went online, we discovered that not all students had the technology to do that. And so really scrambled in order to make sure that everyone could participate, even though it was remote. And so there was a scramble for that, I know, at institutions across the country and around the world. And that's something that keeps improving. So they're improving their Wi-Fi all around their facilities. They're making more devices available for students. So there has been a change there, and for the positive. And it's not perfect yet, but it'll get better. And then I would also say that since the pandemic, enrollment has been down at higher education institutions across the country. And so that is one causing institutions to change their structure. Some of them are consolidating, some of them aren't going to make it. And so there's, wherever there's change, there's opportunity. So there's a lot of shakeup happening there. And then it might be more of a student's market in terms of getting into some of the more competitive programs. So they might have a little easier time getting into some competitive programs because there's just fewer people applying right now. So just a lot of change has happened over the last 2 years.
Excellent.
Thank you so much. Like you've said, what we realized is during COVID is education was not just a place, or school was not just a place that young people come to be educated. It was a place where they came to be mentored. Some of them came there to get the social support, to feed, there was food that, some of them did not have access to food. So we've seen disruption in in learning. We've also seen some people struggle with food security because now they're not in school, they don't have access to the food, those who are in colleges, those who are in elementary school, K through 12, where they were given access to food. And we've seen them struggle emotionally because, we have different homes, we have different areas. So children and students come from different backgrounds. So we've seen that fact, the change in education, that learning has been disrupted. Access to education, their education has been delayed. Learning has been disrupted. Students have not been able to graduate on time. Students have had to delay their research. Those who are doing thesis, those who are doing dissertations, they've had to delay their research, or they've had to change totally their research methodology. Those who are doing face-to-face research, so a lot of things have been disrupted. So education has been disrupted. There's been a delay on graduation. There's been a delay on graduation because of all the dynamics that have changed. There's also been a delay because of access to finances. For example, international students who are here, when schools closed down, they did not have access, no longer have access to that tuition waivers. They don't have access to the scholarship that they have. Some of them have lost their athletic scholarship. Some of them have lost their jobs on campus. So there's been a whole disruption in that realm of education, and financial challenges have occurred. Even for students who had access to healthcare on campuses, that has been disrupted because now when everything closed down, students who are using the healthcare on campuses, but now that everything has been closed, they've had to move out. The social support system that they had, that has been disrupted, and now students are back to their homes where the dynamics are very, very different. I've seen that happening with students coming, like she said, one does not fit all. Students their access to technology is very different. Their access to connectivity is very different. Their access to food is very different. Their home environment is very different. Their social support is very different. What we've also noticed on our side as administrators is we've had to do things differently. I'm an administrator, I supervise. I have people who report to me. I've had to change my mindset of how I view them. When people come in and they're dealing with different challenges, I've had to accept that and say, yes, this is going to happen. Some have come home, they have to take care of their loved ones. So I've had to actually reimagine my way of thinking and the expectations that I have from them, realizing that some of them are taking care of children. They're caregivers. They have to take care of their own parents. They have to take care of different things. So I've had to change my expectations, and I've had to be extremely flexible and adaptive. So adaptability, we've had to adapt to realize things are changing. People have different issues they're dealing with. So on the part of administration, we've had to accept that. Also, we also realize that people have different access. The fact that they're professors or teachers doesn't mean they have access to internet, doesn't mean they have access to computers. They may have one computer, but that one computer is being shared by the entire household. So therefore, we've had to change those things and provide access where, for example, in my institution, we were giving faculty and students free laptops. Those who needed access, connectivity issues, those who needed access to internet, we made that available. You know, whatever they needed, I've had to go to my faculty and staff and say, what do you need? What can I do to support you? So I've come to their level and say, what can we do to support you? So that adaptability is that we have to really rethink and change that. What has also happened on the side of the parents, I'm a parent, and my youngest child is in graduate school, and I've had to see that child just, you know, the dynamics of having to take to dual degree and doing all these things. So I've watched that happening in my own house, where I've had to, as a parent, to step in and do more supporting. Be a support, be a mentor, be somebody to listen. When my child is frustrated, I had to listen to her and say, baby, you can do this. Baby, you can do this. What can mommy do to support you? And I've seen a lot of parents having to step up in that role and be teachers, be mentors, be educators, learn new technology. So there's been a lot of dynamics. All of us have had to adjust to a new normal, from the parents, from the students, from the teachers, from the community. You know, we're sharing space now. Our homes have become a shared space. Somebody was even saying the dogs are very uncomfortable because everybody's back home, you know, those of us who have dogs at home, right? So they leave them at home all day, everybody goes, but now you're also infringing in their space. So everybody has felt that their space is being shared by everybody. So we've had to actually sacrifice and realize that we are sharing that space with teachers, with workers, with children, with dogs, with cats, with everybody, and we had to adapt to this change. So there's been a lot of dynamics, but the key thing is adaptability, technology, understanding that people have different challenges, people have different dynamics, and coming to their level and saying, yes, we can do this together. You know, listening more. I tell parents, listening more to these students when they come to me, when they've missed an assignment, when they've missed a deadline. I'm not going to say, you can't graduate, you're going to fail this class. No, I have to come back and say, what can I do to support you? What can we do to support you? We're here to stand with you every step of the way. What can we do to help?
That's awesome. Thank you so much. I love the idea of, Stephanie, you said meeting them where they are and responding to change where, you know, there's opportunity where there's change. And I think that's really a poignant statement. And Dr. Rotic, I think it's great that the response when you're speaking with students is, you know, I'm here to meet you where you are. If you need a laptop or a hotspot, this is what we're going to do. And no, you're not going to fail this class. I think we have to be able to, you know, be agile in the way that we respond to something that's impacted all of us, right? So I like that. So my next question goes to Ms. Rollins. Similarly, how has hiring for home health specialists changed in the past year and a half for your industry? And what are the biggest needs right now?
Yes, I will say, yes, as we all know, COVID has really, and the pandemic has really affected us all, not only personally, but also professionally, you know, as well. So our biggest struggles right now in the moment, I would say, would be like administrative wise, keeping staff on staff, and then also clinically wise as well. I'll speak more to the administrative staff first. So pre-COVID, we would normally, if we have an open position, we would normally run an ad on a platform that's called Indeed. A lot of you guys may be familiar with that. And we would usually, within a 2-week time period, we usually have a candidate that's actually usually employed with us at that time. However, now during the pandemic, we are almost, about a year and a half, almost 2 years into this pandemic, and we honestly still have some positions that are open that started during around the pandemic time that we still have not been able to fill. So it has really been a challenge, whether that be, you know, some of the individuals are not able to fully commit due to maybe their family or maybe even themselves have been challenged challenged with, the virus, or either maybe also as well too, we have had candidates that would tell us, no, we're not able to accept the position because, I make more at home on unemployment versus coming, to work for you guys. So if what we did find is that if we're not paying like $17 to $18 per hour for a position, it is very challenging to get someone to commit. So therefore, we are really in a very, 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 very trying time. But I will say that we have a really awesome team. Our team, they're troopers. We normally just have to pull together. We redelegate the tasks that are not assigned out to anyone, and everybody picks up where they need to pick up. And majority of our staff, for the most part, they have been with us, for years. I myself, I don't think I shared that I've been with a Professional for 16 years now. Majority of the staff that do come to work for us, they do usually stay around, really, really long term, and it has helped us out, during this time because we do all pull together, as a team. As for our clinical staff, we do struggle in that area a lot as well too. As most people know, most of the time, the nursing field always has a shortage. It is impossible to be 100% staff in the nursing sector. That's regardless of whether that's home health, whether that's the hospital, whether that's the doctor's office. There's always a shortage. So you just think about that. You're already talking about an industry that has to work really short-handed. Then you bring the pandemic in. So we're really, really struggling, in that area. Nursing-wise, we are struggling. Far as home health aides, we don't struggle as much. I will say, far as therapy, really pretty much for the most part, the therapy profession, that would be like your physical therapist, your occupational therapist, your speech therapist. Those individuals, usually we don't have problems with, with staffing those individuals. In the beginning times when COVID first started, we did have a COVID team that we had placed together. But however, at this point, there's really not a need for that anymore, since majority of our staff is heavily, vaccinated. So pretty much all of our staff are they are required to see all patients, regardless if they're COVID or not. And we just have to, make sure they're using their PPE. We treat everyone as if they're, they actually are infected with COVID, just for their protection, and then also for, their family's protection, as well. So hopefully we're on the turnaround, and we're on the uphill climb, and hopefully we can get, things turned around, and hopefully soon we'll be able to turn back to the normal, workforce. But the biggest need at this time would be to fulfill our administrative positions that we have available in our office, and then also to be able to get our nursing positions filled as well.
Awesome. Healthcare is such a strong industry too. So when you think about these career paths and where we might guide our young people to go, we definitely want to encourage healthcare. But I like that you're emphasizing these specific areas of nursing and administration. Sometimes we forget completely about administration and healthcare, right? But the idea that, your company is thinking about changing the way that we compensate for that work being done by raising those wages. I think that's essential across the board, that, as times change, we need to think about how we're compensating. And if it means, increasing those dollars a bit to get the right people in so that we don't have high turnover, then I think that's a great way to go. Thank you for that. So now I want to turn to an audio clip from a young adult who was my former student and graduated and is now in law school. She has a few words to share with any young adult who is thinking about a possible career path.
Hi, my name is Alexis Rickmers. I'm a former Collin Community College student who graduated from the University of North Texas with a bachelor's in English and Political Science. From there, I went on to receive my master's in higher education administration from Boston College, and I'm currently a law student at the Northeastern University School of Law. I was asked to share guidance and tactics that brought me to graduate school today. I've been fortunate to experience graduate school at the master's level and now currently at the Juris Doctorate level. But I offer today practices that have worked for me no matter what type of school I'm in. To start, I would say that I've been in very different types of institutions, from community colleges to private four-year liberal arts colleges. But the best practice I kept through each institution was professor relationships. Each semester, I had classes that I was uniquely excited about. And so I made sure to look at my professor's background, their research interests, and then go to office hours just to ask them about their work, their interests, and to share thoughts I had that were not necessarily class related. I think it can be daunting to approach a professor and talk about things unrelated to class. But in my experience, professors love to chat about their interests and get to know each other. The reason I think that this is helpful when working towards a future graduate program or while you're in a graduate program is that you get connected with different topic areas that you might not have been exposed to before. Additionally, when you share your interests with someone in the field, they can connect you to people you didn't even know about that are practicing in an area that you're interested in, or they can expose you to an area that you didn't know about but might be interested in. These types of relationships start a chain of events that can lead you to a path that feels right for you and open doors that you never knew were there. Another major practice I recommend is to take informational interviews. When I entered into graduate school at Boston College, I was set on going to law school right after. I ended up becoming interested in education policy and started to Google people in my new area that worked on issues I was interested in. I emailed them, asked to hear about their career and how they got where they were, and I ended up doing this a couple times a month for a little bit, and it led to post-grad job interviews in areas I had never even heard of, but ended up finding really interesting. Lastly, I think it's important to be open to changing your mind. If you're set on one practice area, but then learn more about another area and think, well, that sounds more in line with what I'm working for, don't hold on rigidly to your initial idea. Be open to finding the best path for you. Good luck to everyone listening.
I think Alexis gives some really good advice there. I think the thing that stands out to me the most is making that human connection and sitting down with your professor and learning about their journey and understanding, how they got to this position. So I think we need to do more of that, and not just as young people, as people in general. COVID taught us a lot. And I think if we make that human connection, we, get down to who we're talking to and understand that we're all human, there's a lot of connection to be made there. So the next question that I have is for Dr. Rotish and Stephanie. What advice would you give to complement what Alexis has provided for young professionals?
Yes, thank you, Alexis. Whatever you are, that was great. The fact that the key thing is you want to maintain that relationship with your professors. I cannot overemphasize that. I tell my young people, make sure you know your advisor, know your instructors, go to them, go to their office hours. Don't just go to them when you're in trouble. Let me use a very nice word. It is very disappointing when you see a student coming to you at the end of the semester wanting to see how you can help them. Say, I'm about to fail, and they will come to you with tons and tons of stories. What can I do to help? What can you do to me? I need extra credit. I'm like, honey, this is so late. There's nothing I can do. And it's true. There's nothing I can do. Come to your professors from day one. We are human beings. We love you. We are there because of you. Listen, without students, we have no jobs. So we are there to help you. Come to us. Use us, talk to us. So we tell them, go to class. Now, some of your kids don't come to class. Go to class. They do not. And we can't tell you that because of HIPAA laws. They don't come to class. Come to class, talk to us, ask questions. We are there. We are the best people on the face of the earth. So take advantage of those resources. Take advantage of these wonderful human beings who are your parents away from home, who love you, who want you to succeed, and they will do anything for you. We will share whatever we want to see for you. We will write recommendation letters. We will point you out to resources. We'll connect you to internships. We'll do whatever it takes. The problem is if you don't come to us, we don't know what is going on. I'm going to give you an example. Take advantage of those connections and resources. I'm going to give you an example. When I first came to this country, I graduated. I was doing well, and I was an assistant professor. I was getting ready to go up for promotion for associate professor and tenure. So when I went to see my boss, she said, "Well, you're doing well, but you don't have any leadership at a national organization." I said, "Listen, do you know that I'm from Kenya? Do you know that nobody knows me here? How on earth am I going to get leadership at a national organization? I can't." I left that office crying, thinking I'm going to fail, I'm going to lose my job, I'm not going to get tenure. But I went to the internet and searched for conferences and professors. That's how I landed up at KESA. So I went to KESA. I volunteered to help to serve as a regional rep. I volunteered. The next thing, I was a vice president. The next thing, I'm a president. I got my tenure. Now I'm a full professor. This is to say that take advantage of the resources that are there. Get out there and be mentored. Through CASA, I was able to get mentors. I was mentored. Even up to now, I have mentors. I have sponsors, not the Kenyan sponsors. These are academic sponsors. The Kenyan sponsors are bad. The American sponsors are people who point you to resources. That is what we mean by sponsors. So take advantage of those sponsors and mentors and go to them. The other thing is, I tell this to parents and young people, they will change their majors. They will change, especially in this country. They'll come in the first year, they want to do biology. Second semester, they're in chemistry. Third semester, they're in English. Fourth semester, it is okay. It is okay. Give them time to discover themselves. We are there to support them. Parents, leave the children alone. It is not your career. It is their life. Let them choose what they want to do. The only thing is, in that process of searching through, let them come to us, because we will guide them. We will take them to those places. We will give them advice. We'll point them to connections. So it is okay to change your major, but talk to somebody about that. The last one was, what was the last message that you said?
Just, anything that you can use to complement. Yeah.
So the thing is, what I tell young people is, we have a lot of resources, especially in this country, and I know even in our East African countries, because I've been to Tanzania, Uganda, and all this. We have great resources. Take advantage of those resources. Take advantage of those. Step out there, volunteer, do something. Get connected to communities. Here in this country especially, do not live in silos. Get connected to the communities. And I'm going to use one last example. Here we studied the Kenya Scholars and Studies, the Kenya Scholars, and we have the Kenyan students in diaspora. Dr. Muchai is there. He's an engineer with Cummins. He's actually our CFO for CASID. We have a lot of people. We have lawyer Wakili Opande, who has been helping us as our legal expert if we have any questions. So we have all these organizations that are here to support you. Get connected. We're here to mentor you. We're here to support. So be a part of the community. To not live in isolation. We've been there. We've done that. We understand that it's not easy, and we're here to support you. Thank you.
Excellent. Stephanie, what about you?
Sure. Well, it really warms my heart to see someone who started out at a community college and has now gone so much further. So I'm so thrilled that she was the featured student. And I would just, the lesson that I take from her is that it's important to step out of your comfort zone. Like, no matter what stage in life you're at, she started very early. I mean, in community college, she started stepping out of her comfort zone and her example was going and talking to her instructors. But all of us can do that no matter what we're doing in life. And it gets easier the more you do it. And it's just great to see someone and hear about a reminder of that important thing. I could certainly use that myself.
Exactly. I agree 100%. I think what I'm hearing is, use your resources. I think sometimes we feel kind of afraid to step out there and put ourselves out there and say that we might need help, we might need guidance, but that's what this is about, an exploration. As Dr. Rotish pointed out and Alexis pointed out, it's okay to change your mind and figure out the path that you want to go on. And some of this stuff takes time. You don't get to the top by just jumping to the top. You have to kind of take your path and take your journey as you go. So I appreciate that additional information to complement what Alexis said. So my next question is actually for all three of you. Based on the work you and your colleagues are doing within health and education, what goals can you envision achieving together for the diaspora?
I can start off with that one. So I would say, like at Professional Home Health, a lot of the times we do work with individuals, and we allow them to come in, especially during the summertime, to do like an internship with our company, or either they would volunteer, with our company. So I would think like even us, we can partner like with some of the educators, and we can actually come up with like a mentorship, program where they can actually send them over to us so they can actually get to see on the inside if this is what they really like to do. Like the other panelists have mentioned, and also the moderator has mentioned as well too, sometimes they may jump from one specialty to another. But I think a lot of that has to do with because they haven't truly experienced that. You don't really know until you actually get that good hands-on experience. So I do think that it's really important for different private entities, if they're able to be able to have mentorship programs and to partner up with different professors in different business schools and different things like that, to be able to support them so that they can actually come in on the inside to see if that's something they would really like to do.
Very nice.
Thank you. Thank you so much for for that comment. Like you said, or we've shared before, is we are cognizant of the fact that the needs in our community are immense. Different people have different needs. Different people have access to different things. So coming together as a community will help us a long way. And I want to applaud my Kenyan community. I know my other communities are doing the same thing. So I'll give an example. During COVID, we realized that our international students were struggling. Campuses closed, they didn't have access to food, no access to accommodation. There were a lot of needs. We came together as a community. Wakili Wapanda was there, Benson was there, Dr. Michai was there, RISPA was there. All of us came together and we raised over $12,000 to give our international students who needed basic needs. So we were able to give them some small money. We were also able to connect them. You know, for example, if there was a student in Boston who their school had closed and they didn't have a place to go, we are all connected to the community. So we were able to connect them through the different organizations and were able to get them help from whatever they are. So we told the students, they called the embassy, they called me, they called us. We said, whatever you need, we will help you. And we were actually able to support them through that process. We also came together as a community, as academicians, as professionals, as community leaders, to have conferences. We had monthly Zoom sessions to advise. Like I said, Wakili Opande was helping us with our legals, especially the students. He's the chair of all the legal lawyers in this country from Kenyan association. So we were able to get them access to legal if they have any questions that we were not able to do that. We also connected with counselors, social workers within our community. So we were a one-stop place for our international students, and we were able to help them to navigate through those tough times. I've also seen communities come together for different things. We come together. Personally, I'm a woman of faith. I joined this global prayer network, and every Tuesday since the pandemic, since February, I've been leading a session on Thursday night called Spiritual Fitness and Physical Fitness, where we actually do prayer walking. We want to make sure that we are keeping up with our fitness as well as praying. Those who are believers, we do that together every Thursday, with the exception of yesterday because I was traveling. So there are so many things that we can come together, we can do that together, we can mentor, we can support one another. I strongly believe that as a community, we can go far together.
Excellent.
And I'll just share that for any employers that are looking to find interns or making suggestions for what kind of workers they need or what skills they're seeing possibly that people need to develop while they're in community college, our community college, and I'm sure they all do, have advisory boards for different professions and different career areas. And so absolutely reach out to get involved in one of those. It will help make connections for internships and also be able to have some input on where their coursework is going and what skills they're training on.
Very nice. So I'm hearing a well-rounded approach through mentorships, meeting the basic needs of students by providing any kind of funding that can reach those goals of food, shelter, transportation, all of those things, as well as filling the gap between those employers and educators. So making sure that we have a clear line of action through advisory boards. I think that's an excellent idea. And I think if we have this conversation more often, we're closer to getting to that goal. Okay, so another question before we actually turn to the audience for questions. Regardless of your position, institution, or sector, how can we create a more sustainable approach in integrating global necessities like health, economic growth, and quality education?
Well, I think like what the panelists have also said, us coming together, you know, as a community and just trying to meet the individuals, you know, where they are. There's a lot of resources that are out there, but a lot of the times, a lot of individuals, they do not know about them. So a lot of it is really providing the education to them to show them and guide them where they can find these resources. So I guess like us as professionals and us as employers, reaching out to our communities more and making those things more readily available and more widely known about.
Excellent.
On top of what you said, is sharing the resources, is taking advantage of these times and using that as a teachable moment. You know, when COVID hit, we didn't expect this. We didn't expect that we'd be working from home, that we'd be doing this. So we've had to make a lot of adjustments. So adapting, this is a good time for us to really embrace technology and knowing that our young people, this generation, they're not going to back off from technology. So embrace technology as we move forward. How do we incorporate technology into our everyday life, into our education? How do we provide equitable services? Because now when this COVID hit, the inequalities were exposed. We realized that there are some that the haves and the have-nots. There are a lot of people in our communities who do not have enough, who do not have the basics. As leaders, I know right here we have community leaders, we have legislators. Listen, there are people who are struggling. When you are in parliament, when you are in your positions, let's advocate for everybody. In our education system, we're doing our part to make sure that everybody, every child learns, every child gets access to education. As leaders out there in the community, are you advocating for those who do not have enough, who do not have access to all these things? So let's work together. Let's embrace these changes. Let's adopt these changes. Let's move forward and let's be neighbors. Together, we can go far.
Very nice.
And I'll just say that there's so many opportunities that have come up. So many events and programs and things have been put on hold, and it's hard to get things started again once they've been sitting. And so, but that's an opportunity for someone who maybe is wanting to prove themselves and develop some leadership skills and get some practice at doing it, to step up and say, I was really passionate about this program and I don't want to see it die, and so I'm going to have it run again, and I'll step up and lead that. Or I think this program would be better if we took it a slightly different direction. I have this different vision for it, and I'll lead that. So I really feel like there's opportunities in education for people to come in and do things differently, and that's pretty exciting.
I'm going to share one example, the connection we have with the community college, because that's really neat. In the state of North Carolina, we have an articulation agreement between the community colleges and the four-year colleges. So when a student graduates with a diploma, they're actually able to transition into four-year college as a junior. So they don't really lose a lot. So and we actually encourage that, because those who cannot afford to go straight to a four-year school can go to a community college, because they have great education, they have great resources, and you actually do a great job educating those children before we get them. So take advantage of those. What we've done in my department was something that we did that I noticed there was a gap was, when the students come in, when I receive those transcripts, because I receive those transcripts of courses, and I have to review them and make a decision as to whether there's an equivalent course to the university course. So what we noticed was students were coming in with a lot of great courses, but they couldn't fit into our current major because they're great, but we just can't use them based on our degree guide. So therefore, some of the things that we did in my department was we developed a general kinesiology guide that would allow us to actually transfer more credits. So we've actually seen a lot of more students who are coming from community college, coming to our department, being able to graduate because we created room that has a lot of electives, and students are actually able to move on and graduate on time. So again, those are things that we have to adapt and say, hey, these kids have done so much, we got to help them graduate and have a life and move on. Thank you for the great.
Absolutely. I think we do need to address the hurdles that our students might go through as they're on their educational journey. And I love that you're bringing up the transition from two-year institutions to four-year institutions. I know we have Dallas County Promise. Is there something equivalent to that in Tarrant County? I think that you guys are working on that.
There is. Mm-hmm. There's a limited one right now, and they're really growing to expand it and make it available to all Tarrant County residents. So, and the idea behind that is that if for juniors and seniors in high school that make a commitment that they want to go to college, basically the college is going to make a commitment that they can go for free. So they have to go through some hurdles. There's some requirements, but that way when people are in high school, they can vision themselves as going to college. And just being able to have that vision for yourself is really important.
Exactly. And as Dr. Rotish pointed out, it's not just stopping at the community college level. If you feel there is something that is worth approaching, you can transition that into the four-year institution as well. And that is a part of what we do at Dallas College. transition our students from DISD, or our ISD partners, and then they'll spend 2 years at Dallas College and then move on to one of our 4-year institution partners. So the possibility is there, and the teamwork is there, the opportunity is there, and we're meeting these challenges as they come up. So thank you to our panelists. We're going to get into some questions. You guys are so excellent. I thank you for all of your insights, but I want to hear from our audience on, what are some questions we might ask of these people who are working really tirelessly in these industries. I see a couple of hands already.
The Ugandan way. Yes, is that serious? Thank you very much. Again, my name is Rebecca Kadaga. I'm the Deputy Prime Minister and the Minister for East African Community. Professor Rotich, I'm happy to meet you. I'm associated with Elgeyo Marakwet. He used to have a name called Lina Kilimo.
That's my buddy.
Wow, okay. I used to work with her on the campaign on FGM in Kenya and Uganda.
She did that with my mother.
Yes, okay. So, Dr. Rotich, I'm quite impressed by what the Kenya Scholars Association has done. I wonder whether you could support the mentoring of the Ugandan academicians to form the Uganda Scholars Association, the Burundi, the Tanzanians, the Rwandese, and the Sudanese, because what you've done as Kenyans, I think is something we need to replicate. Would you be able to make it a more East Africa thing?
We can do it tonight.
Okay.
I love to do that. Yeah, we love to do that. Yeah, actually, it's a great program. Even right now, we have 3 WhatsApp groups. We have a Telegram group. We have sessions, So a student can call us and we can make a phone call and we can connect them to that resource immediately. So yes, we'll be glad to do that.
It's me again. One of the great things about our educational system in Africa or East Africa, where we used to take the Cambridge exams and all that, is when you get to level S4, you have to decide what path you're going to take. And for me personally, when I went to HSC, I took physics and double math, and I wanted to be a mechanical engineer. Well, when I got to this country, I actually I found out I liked chemistry. So I ended up getting a degree in chemistry. But when I finished, I decided to become an engineer. So I went to engineering school to become a chemical engineer. My point is, right now in Africa, especially in Uganda, once you decide in S4, you are locked up. You can't do anything else. Is there any way of changing that dynamic so that a young person can decide to go to a different field?
It's a very tough question.
So basically what I'm asking is, what can we do, or what can the countries do where they give flexibility to students that after they go to HSC, they may decide, hey, I like chemistry. Even if I didn't do chemistry, let me go do chemistry at the university.
That is a very good point, and it's actually one of my pain points because I have nieces and nephews who are doing different things. They would like to do that, but I think that is a question that we're going to throw back to our Kenyan leaders or our African leaders and really share that feedback with them. From our Kenyan side, I can proudly say that we're having great conversations with our Ministry of Education. 2 weeks ago, we were here in Dallas. We had our 13th annual CASA conference, And we actually had the PS, a permanent secretary, principal secretary of education, and a team of 5 key leaders from the ministry. And we started those, actually, we even went to Texas A&M when we signed a memorandum of understanding. So we're having those conversations with them. We're engaging the different sectors. That is something that we will mention in our conversation, because we are here. We really have no control over what goes on in Kenya. But having those conversations with them as an ongoing, we've actually talked about access. And if any of our Kenyan members of parliament are here, please listen, and I hope you can help us with this. We've had conversations like FAFSA. Where here in the US, we have access to FAFSA. Now, our Kenyan students do not have access to that, but we know that in this country, they have access to nothing. So we're having those conversations to say, why can't you extend the same services to international students who are outside of East Africa, right? Right now, it's only students who are in East Africa who can apply for the loan, which is equivalent to FAFSA. If you look at the policies there, there's nothing that says that you cannot access these loans if you're out of the country. So we are having those conversations. In fact, on Sunday, I'm having a conference with the chair, the CEO of HELP, a Zoom session. There is a conference that I've been invited to in Kenya, and it's a very interesting theme, and I'm going to mention that. It's called the Universities of the Future. So I'm one of the panelists, and I'll make sure I mention that. So it is something that we need to continue pushing. It is not going to be done in one day, but we need the support of our leaders in Africa, if they can understand that our children are very different. I went to that system. Those days you're told, do this and you do that. Our young people, they're very different. They want to do things differently, and we got to embrace and support them.
I have a question, actually. My husband and I are expecting our first child, so we're very excited. And we've been kind of joking around, but not joking around, about pushing anesthesiology on him because it's stable and it's needed, right? So my question goes to Ms. Rollins. If you could envision the best way to get very young people involved in understanding the health profession, what would you provide for them, or how would you encourage them so that when we get to a place where we're thinking about young adults who are considering that career, how do we get that in their minds and experiences much earlier?
Again, I would go back to saying like mentorships. I would say get them involved with someone that's maybe in that profession so that they can actually be able to see that at the bedside, what that actually looks like. Because a lot of the times I have a lot of friends and family also as well. They go to school, they have all these degrees, but they don't even practice in that area, because when they actually start to work in those fields, it's not really what they want to do. So I would say get them exposed to that. So reach out to the different hospitals or wherever it is, whatever it is that you wanting them to do, or that they think that they want to do. Actually see if they can actually go spend some time actually in that environment so that they can really make a decision if that's what they want to do for the rest of their life.
That's awesome. I was thinking also, I've taught really young kids, like kindergartners before, and just knowing that they have so much to explore and they're so innovative at a very young age. Like, what can we do for the little ones who are just getting into education, just stepping their feet into the playgrounds of learning? Like, what do we do for those young people who are going to be, making those decisions as high school students and college students? Because I think even, I don't know the gentleman's name who asked the last question, but having to make that decision so early and being locked into it is kind of devastating to me, because you have so much room to grow,
I have young kids, and I'll say that our school has a career day, and they invite parents to come and talk about their careers. And we haven't had it every year, and I should say, why not? We need to do it every year. And so if your school's not doing it, then ask them to do it and volunteer to participate, and maybe recruit someone to participate too.
Yeah.
Can I add something to that? This is from experience. What I hear from the young people is they don't want their parents to tell them what to do. They tell me this, I'm not making these up, I can show you the notes. They get tired because their parents are getting into their life, into their business. Don't push them. Take them to those conferences, take them to those sessions, but don't make them do that, because if you push them and say, oh, this is really good, this is really good, they're going to move away from that because they think it is your idea, not my idea. I've had kids tell me, one went to medical school, the parents wanted him to go to medical school, he wanted to do music. He said, you know what, I'm going to be a good child, I'm going to do this medical degree. He finished his medical degree, gave it to their parents. This is what you wanted? Goodbye. He went back to community college and studied music. Don't force them, just listen to them and support them. But what I've heard from the young kids is, this is what my parents want me to do. I don't want to do this. This is what they want. So let's give them that room, expose them, take them to those places. Let them develop that desire to do that, but don't force them to do that because they'll tell us, I don't want to do this. They made me do this. And those are the ones who don't come to class, they don't turn in assignments, and they will be professional students that stay in college for 10 years.
It's funny. Any other questions from the
I
audience?
think we have one here. That would be his better half.
Hi. So the question I have, I wanted to ask the lady on the last panel. Yes.
Ms. Rollins.
Ms. Rollins, yeah. You talked about hospice. And the reason I want to ask this is we are a generation and a community that rarely talks about end of life. And so usually the first time we encounter you is when we're told we're here to help your loved one to feel more comfortable so they can die. And I'm wondering if there's resources that could be made available to help us to understand that at some point end of life will be coming, and how to have those discussions with our family members before we get to see you.
Right. Okay. There are resources that are available. However, unfortunately, hospice is one of those things that most people don't want to talk about. And a majority of the time when people hear that, they immediately think of, death. That doesn't always mean that. We have had patients that have come onto our services and they actually end up revoking out and they end up going back over to our home health side because they're now stable and they're not actually at the end stages of life for whatever reason. Maybe, things change, conditions change. But far as resources and things like that, I think we should, as a community, we should just talk about that a little bit more instead of being so afraid of, the end of life, because we're all going to have to face that at some point in time. But I think if we talk about that a bit more, then it won't be such a surprise and it won't be such a shock when that time actually comes, for your members and for your loved ones. Yes.
Great. I think we have time for one more question.
Going once?
I had something I wanted to share.
Sure, go for it.
Well, I'll share this real quick while they're getting ready for you. So I just discovered recently an option for international students at our college, and I suspect others have this, because our in-county tuition rate's very low. But if you do not qualify for one of the in-county tuition rates, it's pretty expensive even to go to community college. But I just helped an international student who had a scholarship. You have a competitive scholarship. Our school has an arrangement where you can get in-county tuition rates if you've received a competitive scholarship. And so I was able to pull a few strings and get that arrangement for him. And I suspect other schools have this too, and it may be difficult to find, but it's probably worth asking about.
That's incredible. Perfect. All right, one question. Yes.
Yes, thank you. My name is Santa Kinyera. I'm from Uganda Embassy in Washington. My question is about, should I say mental health and kind of special needs as it relates to education, and especially in these times of COVID. We know that the COVID has greatly impacted on our children, on our families in a very big way, mentally. So there's come up very strong problems in terms of mental health, in terms of addiction, various types of addiction. Because I never used to know things to do with like addiction to internet, for example. I knew addiction is something to do with substance abuse, things of the kind. But now you have in your sitting room a child who's addicted to, what is this called? The computer games, those kind of things. So as educators, as, people in this sector that deal with students, with young minds, how do you help families deal with these kind of things? Because in the long term, these are going to become the problems of the future. Because we are on top of substance abuse, we are now going to have addictions to internet, addictions to games, these remote controls and things of the kind. And I ask this question because from where I come, from my country, mental health is something that people don't talk about openly. They don't. It's a subject that has a kind of stigma. So it's never addressed in the open light. Even with policymakers, you don't have somebody advocating very passionately or actively for mental health. So we have even the allocation of budget for mental health is really on the other side. In fact, in Uganda, we have only one referral hospital for mental health for the whole country. So these are things which you as educators, as people who are involved with young people, with children, people who are involved with creating and developing people for the future, it has to come into the curriculum. It has to come into the policy table. It has to come into the conversation of things. Let's not only talk about education, of career path, of choosing these professions, but there are these sides of things that need to be addressed too. And families are out there dealing and trying to cope with these things on a daily basis. So I think it would be nice if you guys accommodate this kind of thing in your discussions and help families, schools, parents in how to deal with this. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Go ahead.
Yes, thank you so much for that comment. I'm trying not to cry. Mental health is real. It is happening. I can speak for myself. We are aware of that. It's not even just students, it's faculty, it's adults. Parents are having to do so much. Our professors, our teachers, they're having to teach. You're teaching other people's children, you're teaching your own children, your caregiver, you're everything. So mental health is real. We are talking about this at college campuses. We have access to a counseling center. We have access to, we actually do something that is called active referral. If a student comes to me and I can feel that they are stressed out, they're stressed out, they're struggling, I'm gonna actually take them and say, let's actually walk them all the way there. I'm not gonna say, you crazy, you need, so it's active referral where we actually stop what I'm doing and I take you all the way. I say, you know what? I understand, I know what you're going through, but I know somebody who can do this better. Let's take a walk over there. So we actually walk them over and leave them with a professional. During our last CASA conference, our keynote speaker at dinner was actually a counselor, and we talked about mental health, emotional hygiene. That's another term that people call it, because people don't like mental health, emotional hygiene. Each one of us, I'm sure if you listen to yourself, you're struggling with something. There's a lot of stress and tension. We just don't want to talk about it. So our talk was, it is okay not to be okay. We have to accept that it is okay not to be okay. It is okay to struggle with some things, but there's also a lot of resources. There are resources at colleges, there are resources in the community, even church. At your churches, they have resources where people can get help for free. So we have to stop this stigmatization. We have to accept that it is real. All of us need it, not just children.
I agree. That's a great question and a great response. I think, you were saying that it's difficult to talk about mental health in East Africa. It's also difficult to talk about it here. I mean, we've just started to breach the conversation, and I think we're headed in a direction that's better than where we were. And I know there are definitely resources It's just a matter of accessing them. And sometimes when you're in a position where you feel like you're being challenged in that way in terms of your own mental health, it's hard to put yourself in a vulnerable position to say, I need help, or I need therapy, or, you know, I know some institutions like mine are having therapy dogs and therapy sessions and chaplains who are walking around the campus to, you know, address students' needs and let them know that they're available. So I appreciate that question.
I'm going to add something quick that I forgot. I'm going to plug in. Also encourage your children to get out and do some activities. Don't let them get so addicted, and all of us need that. Make sure you're getting your physical activity, getting time to get out there, do something that is fun. So get those kids out there, because they're missing that in the college campuses with everything going online. So all of us need to get some time, relax, have fun, do something that you enjoy, get some activity. Even here tonight, make sure you go swim, get some activity, do something fun. It's not all about work.
Excellent. We're going to end on that note. Let's thank our panelists for all of their insights. Wonderful session. And thank you to the Chamber for allowing us to have this discussion. See you at the next panel.